Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're taking a close look at Stephen King's latest short story collection, You Like It Darker.
Yeah.
Our goal here is to sort of unpack a comprehensive review, pull out the key themes, the interesting bits, so you get a quick handle on what makes this one tick.
And that title, You Like It Darker, well, it really says something, doesn't it?
Right.
It feels like King is um, deliberately leaning into the bleaker side of things, the uncanny, the unsettling stuff. He's definitely digging into our fears, our moral weaknesses, but somehow he still manages to keep that dark humor, those moments of real empathy. That's pure King.
Yeah, that mix of grim reality and, well, humanity is kind of his trademark. How does he manage that, especially in short stories?
Okay.
Less space, right?
Right, less space for the deep dives like in novels. It's his skill with economy, I think.
Yeah.
A few quick strokes and you get the character. He gives you just enough. So you connect instantly. Makes their fears, their choices feel very real, very immediate. You could kind of see this collection as like a spiritual sibling to Night Shift, or Everything's Eventual maybe. But it definitely feels honed, sharper, decades of writing behind it. The themes are heavy hitters too. Mortality, guilt, revenge, fate. So it works for longtime fans, but also I think for people just discovering King's darker side.
Right, so let's jump into some specific stories. Let's get into the meat of it, maybe give listeners a feel for what's inside. Imagine opening the book, that familiar King chill. First up, Two Talented Bastards. Strong opener.
Oh, yeah.
It's about these two brothers, a family secret, real dark stuff. It's got that classic King slow burn tension, really rich characters, pulls you right in.
And what's great there is how the dread builds. It's not cheap scares, it's psychological, subtle clues, paranoia, the weight of the secret just sort of presses down on them. It feels inevitable, not just shocking.
That psychological angle is definitely strong. Then there's Danny Coughlin's Bad Dream. That one felt almost like noir.
It did have that vibe, yeah.
Which isn't maybe the first thing you think of with King, but it worked.
Wow.
How does he use that style to make a bad dream feel so terrifyingly real, prophetic?
Well, he borrows that cynical mood, that sense of doom from classic noir, right? And then he plants this premonition right in the middle of that bleak, morally gray world.
Oh.
So a simple dream becomes this omen of horror you can't escape. It's what he does best, really grounding the weird stuff in the everyday to make it hit harder, more unsettling.
Grounding the weird in the everyday. Yeah, that's spot on. And that brings us to The Answer Man. For me, that one really explored power in this like philosophical but also devastating way.
Oh, absolutely.
The whole idea. And a guy gets perfect answers to any question. But it's King, so there's a massive cost. What makes it so powerful?
The killer thought experiment, isn't it? Like
Right.
King's asking, what if perfect knowledge just leads to, well, perfect misery, unintended consequences again?
Right.
And it makes you think, doesn't it? What would I ask? Would I pay that price for truth? Good horror, does it turn the mirror back on you?
Definitely food for thought. Okay, and for the constant readers out there, the big one has got to be Rattlesnakes, a direct sequel to Cujo.
Yes. Huge deal for fans.
We catch up with Vic Trenton years later. It's this really chilling look at trauma, guilt that hasn't gone away. More than just nostalgia, it digs deep.
And connecting that to the bigger picture, it shows King isn't afraid to revisit his world, explore the fallout from past horrors, adds layers. It's not just fan service. It's like he's expanding the psychological map of his universe, showing how trauma sticks.
And one more, maybe a quick mention, The Fifth Step. Short, but wow. Unforgettable.
Yeah, that one's a gut punch.
Starts so normal, just a conversation in Central Park, and then bam! Classic King escalation into pure terror. Short, sharp, leaves you feeling shaky.
And what's cool is how these stories, even though they stand alone, they kind of weave together this tapestry of darkness, you could say.
Tapestry of darkness, I like that.
Yeah, threaded with these common themes. Fate, redemption, the evil, hiding in plain sight. It feels really cohesive, despite the variety.
Okay, so we've touched on some key stories. Let's pull back a bit now. What makes this collection work so well overall? Those aha moments for the reader. First off, just the sheer variety in his storytelling. It's incredible. He shifts gears so smoothly from like psychological stuff that messes with your head to full-on supernatural horror.
Right. It shows his range, his mastery. He's not just a one-trick pony in horror. He can use all these different tools to make you feel scared or uneasy, keeps things fresh.
And the characters. Even in these short formats, he creates people you remember. In just a few pages, you feel like you know them or you're scared for them almost instantly.
Yeah, he does that with, like, a single detail sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
or a quick internal thought. Suddenly, boom, full person. That's crucial for short stories. Every word has to pull its weight.
Totally. And of course, atmosphere. Pure King.
Oh, yeah.
His ability to make any place, a diner, a park bench, some small town, feel so alive, but also
Yeah.
menacing. It's uncanny.
That's the environmental immersion, right? The setting isn't just a backdrop. It's almost like another character contributing to the horror, making the familiar feel creepy.
Exactly. And the pacing, too. Most stories really grab you from the first paragraph, don't they? And they hold that tension right to the end. Hard to put down.
Very tight generally.
And lastly, for the longtime fans, that touch of nostalgia. Little callbacks, familiar themes, maybe even places. It feels like coming home. Just maybe a spookier home this time.
Yeah, lots to love there.
Yeah.
But, for a balanced view, we should probably touch on things that might not work for everyone. Got to be critical, right?
Fair point. What stands out?
Well, maybe the tone can be a bit uneven. Some stories are just relentlessly grim, like really bleak, without much of King's usual humor or lightness to break it up.
Uh-huh.
If you read them all back to back, that constant darkness could feel a little heavy, oppressive, maybe.
Interesting. Do you think that's maybe intentional? King pushing boundaries? Or could it maybe put off some readers who expect that specific King blend?
That's a good question. I lean towards him just exploring darker corners thematically. Maybe less about alienation, more about showing the full spectrum of where his head's at now.
Okay.
Another thing, predictability. Look, he's the master, but for readers who know his work inside out, a few twists might feel familiar. You might see them coming. Not a huge issue, but it's there.
Right. You kind of learn his rhythms after a while.
Exactly. And maybe the length of a couple of stories. Most are paced perfectly, like you said, but one or two, especially the ones tackling big moral questions, could maybe feel a little rushed, or like the ideas weren't fully fleshed out,
Yeah, I can see that. Some concepts maybe needed more room to breathe.
potentially.
Okay, that's a good balanced look. So let's circle back to those big themes weaving through the collection, the threads tying it all together. First, that classic King tension, fate versus free will. How much control do his characters really have when things seem set in stone?
Right. And that taps into a question for all of us, doesn't it? How much are we really in charge? What about those external forces, maybe even cosmic ones? King puts characters right in that struggle. Impossible choices.
Then there's guilt and punishment, big one. The weight of past actions.
Huge.
King really shows how past mistakes, big or small, accidental or not, can just follow you, haunt you for years. The way regret eats away at people.
And often the punishment isn't just external, it's internal torment, right? That psychological weight. Sometimes that's scarier than any monster. It's a deep dive into how we torture ourselves.
Which connects right into trauma and memory, another central pillar, how people cope or don't cope with horrible events, and how memory itself can be a trap, distorted, haunting.
Yeah, the psychological scars.
Yeah.
They last way longer than physical ones. The past is never really past in these stories.
Yeah.
Memory becomes its own kind of prison for these characters.
And underpinning it all, that signature King move, the thin line between normal life and absolute horror, finding terror in the mundane, showing how quickly your everyday world can just crack open into nightmare. Nobody does that better.
And that's why these themes feel so human, so resonant. Why King endures. He's not just telling spooky tales. He's reflecting our own anxieties, our mistakes, the fragility of everything we take for granted. He's basically asking us to look under the surface of the world we think we know.
So, bottom line time, the final verdict on You Like It Darker. I'd say this collection shows King writing with real confidence. Bold stories that challenge you to stare into the darkness. And while, yeah, maybe not every single story is a home run,
Right, as we discussed.
the collection overall is gripping, it's haunting, and it feels deeply, deeply human.
Couldn't agree more. For me, it's a strong 4.5 out of 5 stars.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, I think it's essential reading. For King fans, obviously, but really for anyone who loves a well-told, dark story. It's
Right.
chilling, it's thoughtful. Just a really satisfying return to short fiction from the master.
Agreed. And maybe a final thought for you, the listener, to chew on. How do these stories, by digging into those dark corners, that thin veil between normal and horrific, how do they push us? Do they make us confront our own fears, maybe think differently about morality in our own lives?
Or is it just entertainment?
Exactly. Is it just a good scare, or does it offer something deeper about ourselves, our world?
Something to mull over, for sure. Maybe after you've read it.
Definitely. Well, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into Stephen King's You Like It Darker. We hope you'll check it out if you're feeling brave. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.